Gang stalking. Decoys. That suggests I was with someone. Okay, the time is now 7:50. I'm gonna pause until they park. Notice they're sitting directly in the sun. I'm in the shade. Okay. So that's the third car that's rolled through. They say she's seriously able to get rid of this mall and not have any miles in her place. This was the first mall that I took into my place. And the reason they want it at my place is so they can blame the activity on of others that are doing hitting crack pipes or whatever, however they do it, on me. The time is now 7:53. They said that other agents are going to be looking at where and how, and realize that they have been pinning their activity on me. Now, mind you, I told you it's just like, a matter of compromising one another. They already know that. They already know I don't do any drugs. I had a drug screen today. I have drug screens almost every week. Have had drug screens almost every week since February. I don't do drugs. Never have. They said they just made people realize that those officers were saying that she was on drugs, covertly saying that I was on drugs. Now, mind you, when they had to follow me home every day, the agencies, they used those identities, they knew who was doing what, okay? Which is why fights will always break out amongst the couples. They haven't fought in forever. APD ain't been coming on Upland Avenue like they used to come on Upland Avenue. Arguments haven't been breaking out amongst couples on Upland Avenue like they used to. And then you seen the most recent one where like he even shot around. I think he shot it into her tire, and no one came, no one called, okay, and the neighbors heard it. I don't know if the guy on that other street, Lindenwood, came by my place or not today, but I have that note in my window. Imagine that, like, these things, they know that you're being attacked with science all the time, and, all kinds of stuff. And they don't see anything wrong with that. When they see you, they're shocked because they can't believe that you're surviving it. Not only can they not believe that you're surviving it, they can't believe that hypnosis in your sleep isn't working, and that you're able to recall and be in touch with reality, and that you won't comply, as bad as things are for you. Depression, anxiety, all that stuff, none of that's in my DNA. So the time is now 7:59. The library is about to close, and constituents have been gaining intel in which the agents using those constituents use them as a means to question what they've been told. Today, the guy that I seen at the mini mart, the owner, because they switch ownership. He has another employee, one that I never seen before, is an Asian female. And but when I saw him today, he looked like an addict. which is what I could have already guessed from how he smoked cigarettes. Um, Cigarettes are an indicator, and when they're applying these negative characteristics and traits to me to enhance others or invert others, to change them, it something like a black and mild might surface or manifest because I have an excessive amount of addicts feeding off of me. He's having a cigarette. When I have a black and mild, it sets off alarms because they start getting cravings that they didn't have, that they weren't having anymore. That's why, I don't know if you recall me talking about that, but they were throwing a fit about me smoking black and milds in 2020. 302's baby dad, and others. 310's baby dad too. And it was a conversation amongst them all. 323, 315. They were complaining about pipe tobacco because it was giving them cravings. 311. They were feeling like they wanted to do the things they were trying to get away from. And them, they represent many. So when they were faced with that, what they often do, you saw me talk about this. You may have or may not have. I don't think those videos have gotten out. But they were putting Kelly Bunn's boyfriend, like his stalking just grew more aggressive. So whenever I was on my porch, he'd come out to smoke to smoke a cigarette, to claim that it was me that was smoking cigarettes. They were claiming I was smoking cigarettes and not black and miles. And that's even played out some this year with me being on probation and my drug screens. Covertly. The time is now 8:04. So when they would try to cover up my behavior or my activity, it means that they had gotten to a point where they were like, what they were trying to pass off. It was almost like an intimidation type of ordeal. They were trying to intimidate me not to do what I wanted to do. Or keep me from doing how I was dealing with this situation. And then it got to a point where they just started lying about, they were already lying about my location to not have to report, but that just grew more excessive. Since they see me as their means of healing, as the agents refer to it, being able to get rid of those characteristics and traits that they don't want to have or want to display and manifest. Yeah, they were attacking me in the form of my appearance. That's kind of why the officer was panicked in a way, when they came to the police station. At the end of November to sabotage me, because he knew that the black and mild represented a lot of things. This is the best part about being out and doing something like this in the broad day. Like, no one can claim I was doing something that I don't. You get what I'm saying? And it sets off a lot of alarms. Especially when I return to the place where I was mistreated and lied on. Because they depend on mind control to keep you away from areas They depend on mind control to keep you away from those that you would come across. They depend on mind control to keep you from remembering them. I told you when I was in the psych ward, the one guy, he was complaining about how that nurse, that was under another name, he knew him and knew who he was. Super weird guy, super weird nurse. That another guy knew him. And of course, doctors and others went and entertained his claims. And the nurse was blowing it off as well, like he wasn't who he said he was. Kind of like my brother has publicly done me on my Facebook page. They'll try to paint an image of you and call you mentally ill because they're trying to maintain interest in how they've been inverted. And it's always done by mistreating others that know the truth. Those who know your past. I was supposed to work on my website. When the bus driver, it happened to be him. Or one of the bus drivers that talks to me. And he was telling me, he was like, well, I'll help you out with getting your laptop screen fixed or whatever. And I was like, what is help? What is that? But it's only because of where I'm at in this fight. When I needed help and money the most, no one would do anything. I've always been on my own, and I will always be on my own. And you gotta ask yourself, when those that don't care about you and what's being done to you, how can an outsider? It's one thing for someone to feel like I haven't had anyone genuinely want to help me with this cause. It's like they take interest in me and they're like, well, let me take you out to eat, or let me do this, or let me do that. And I'm like, no, you have to see what's being done to me as a problem, something that affects you. And they don't. They're just in place to be a distraction and kind of just get you away from it all, so that the government won't have to be as concerned with you fighting anymore. Because you know how finances go when you invest in something and it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to, that turns into a spat too. I don't have time for that. In fact, they were telling me while I was on the bus talking to him, they was like, well, we want you to know that they're not going to go into cardiac arrest until they find out that you won't open your thighs. And that you never did. Since the attack that they made on me with the landlord and giving my aunt a heart attack. And believe it or not, all the lowlifes, that don't know my history and that are trying to paint me as something that I'm not, you can look at him and tell that I would have never. It was always, you know what I'm saying, them being like, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to do this. And after I seen how that worked out, it was over. And they've lied on me for 2 years, about 2.5, a little over 2 years. They were saying that I was having sex when I wasn't. It is June 2021. I have not had sex since February 2019. Okay, the time is now 8:18. The bus outbound will be passing any minute. And I have until about 8:35 before the one inbound comes back that I'm going to catch.